and you are eligible for to help you offset the refunds or the repayment you should have paid to the government. So what the child tax credit or the earned income credit or the energy credit we see out there helps you, to achieve is either getting more, from the government by you adding up the excess plus the child tax credit plus the earned income credit if you are eligible for it, or you and then maybe like the solar energy credits. So let's take this scenario because I want to make this as practical as possible. I don't want to make it, like an academic, session so that we can understand. Let's assume that you are a head of household. You have four kids. And then while filling out your W-4, you selected there that you are a head of household with four kids. You are meant to pay the IRS $10,000 as taxes. And then through your W-2, you definitely, paid the $10,000 in taxes. At the end of the year, when you file your tax return, what happens is that the government will say, hey, you were supposed to pay us $10,000. You paid $10,000. You don't owe the IRS does not owe you. But now you have kids, you have four kids. You have a house that you pay taxes on. You bought solar, energy credits, and then you didn't do much, and then you qualify for earned income credits. So what happens at the end of the day? All of these credits that you, should get for your children, for the energy, the solar you have, the taxes you paid, through your 1098 mortgage statement, the government now refunds all of this back, to you. This is how the refunds system works. You get your excess that you paid during the previous year, plus all of the credits that you should be eligible for. Now, let's talk about why, why do you need to file your tax? The answer is very, very simple. Your civic responsibility. If you go to school and you get a result, you need to share that report with those that have, like that interest in you, right? It's just being civil. That is the main reason why you need to file your tax at the end of the year. Now, the other reason, which I see as also very important, is that it gives you the opportunity to get a whole lot of things done. This is the United States of America, where there is what we call the American that gives you the opportunity to own your own home, to have your own business, to get support from the government. If you want to do these three out of so many things that you need, to making sure that your American dream is fulfilled, there is no way you can access any of this without having a tax return. Want to buy a house today, right? Even if you are going for a product that we call the bank product, the non-QMs, you still have to show your tax return, right? If you need to get an insurance, there are certain insurance policies that the insurance company would ask you, how much, did you make, so you have to see if you're eligible. And one of the ways they are going to confirm that is your tax return. There's little or no kind of investment or anything that you need to do around here that you don't need your tax return. You need to make investment decisions. You need your tax return. There's no way around it, right? And that's because it's one way, right? That every of these stakeholders, the government, the bank, investors, even if you want to get money from private equity, some of them would ask you for your tax return, maybe from 3 years, because they want to see how responsible you are. I told a client 2 years ago, I said, if I want to know how responsible you are, one of the things I would want to see, I mean, financially responsible though. If I want to see how financially responsible you are, how civic you are, your interest in the future of this country. If I want to see those, one of the things I'm going to request for, one of the documents I'm going to ask you is your tax return, right? Because through that tax return, I can tell if one, you have been fair, to yourself, you have been fair to the country. And if you don't have, a fraudulent, pattern, right? I've seen clients, coming from elsewhere, and then they got a whole lot of money, and they're like, we have to get the same thing. I'll be like, you can't get this, because the reason why you got this last year is because, for example, your previous tax preparer claimed here that you have huge medical bills. Do you have medical issues? And most of the time, I know I don't have. So where did you get this? I don't know. That's what my tax preparer gave to me, right? So some of the time, these preparers, right, they make you do what you shouldn't, and in most cases, you don't even know it. And I'm going to drop this here before I move on, that the tax return that you submit to the IRS is your responsibility. Because if anything happens and the IRS choose to come after you, hardly would they ask you to come with your tax preparer. They have to send those notices to you to come and explain what you have on your taxes. So let us make it a habit from today to ask questions. Probe your tax preparers. Ask them what they have on your form. Tell them to explain. Can you explain page 1? What do we have on page 2? Right? Let them explain to you. Because what I've seen over time is like some of these preparers are breaking the bank of the IRS and giving to you what you don't deserve. And what that does is that it takes away from someone that actually, owns those funds. And I'm going to say something when we end this meeting. That's how I want to end this meeting. I believe most of us out here are immigrants. And I'm going to end this meeting in a very certain way. But before we get there, I've talked about what the tax, return is. I've talked about what the tax, the tax return is, what the tax refund is, why you need to file your tax. Now, the next thing is, how do you file your tax? There are three basic ways that you can file your tax. You can either print out form. Okay. Yeah, so you can print out a form, a 1040 form, and you fill that out manually, and you mail to the IRS. That is what we used to have, even though I wasn't here, where I was told that is what we used to have around here maybe like 15, 20 years ago. Right? You go to some places, maybe the IRS office, you pick the file. I don't know. That's what they told me. Right? You pick the form and then you fill it out and then you mail it to the IRS. Well, of course, I've seen the form is still available. If you go to the IRS website, you can download a 1040 form and you submit. Now, the other way is to actually get, one of these electronic, applications we have, H&R Block. You can file electronically yourself. You put in everything yourself. You can get a TurboTax, account. They are called over the counter. You get them, you create an account, you put in your information, and then you send it to the IRS. And then the other one is engaging a professional like me. And I can tell you that three is engaging a professional. I've seen so many clients say, "Hey, I made this mistake last year. I didn't know where to I didn't know where to put this, figure. Oh, I inserted this, form, incorrectly." Yeah, because like I said, being a report card, you get so many forms. You get so many forms. One from your employer, W-2, or if you are an independent contractor, you get a 1099. If you have insurance marketplace, you get a 1099, a 1095B or 1095C. If you have a home, you get a 1099 mortgage statement. If you are a student, you get a 1099, 1098T. There are so many forms you get from so many companies, or anyone you had a transaction with, that you have to report to the IRS. And I need to state this before I go on. For every of the W-2 and 1099 you get, they are also being reported to the IRS. If you get a W-2, that W-2 is with the IRS. And for you to confirm if you are missing out on any of these forms that have been reported to the IRS, you can simply open an IRS account. When you open an IRS account, you would see four sections, right? The tax you submitted, the tax that you are expected to submit, your wages. They would all of the wages that has been reported to the IRS, your W-2, your 1099, you find them there. So if you are here and you are wondering, do I have all of my W-2 before I go to my tax preparer? Create an IRS account if you don't have one. And if you do, log in and go to the wage section to see if you are missing out on any. Because trust me, if you submit your tax and your tax return to the IRS, and it is found that you are missing on one, number one, your taxes will be delayed. You won't get your refund if you are supposed to get one. You won't get it on time. Secondly, you're going to get a notice from the IRS informing you that we don't have this, you are missing this income. Can you go ahead and file an amendment? And that's a whole lot, of troubles for you. You don't want that. So having an IRS account is as important as having a bank account. And the good thing, you can log in from your phone and check, one time to see if you have everything in place. And the IRS account would also tell you how you stand. Are you owing? Have they sent, a lien notice to you that anytime could be triggered, and then you get salary and you wonder why you didn't get your money because the IRS are taking your money. I've seen IRS asking the bank to debit someone to the amount of $50,000, right? And they can't close that account. You can't close it. So for every of your money that goes into that account, something is taking it. You don't want that, right? It is a progressive tax system. You earn more, you pay more. There's no reason why you should have that excuse of not being able to pay your tax liability, because what you are being asked to pay is a fraction of what you have made, right? So get a tax professional. The tax professional will tell you, right, would advise you what you can deduct. There are so many business owners here who have LLCs. and don't know that you need to file your LLC as long as it's a single member LLC with your 1040. And while you do that, there are deductions you can claim. I am speaking to you right now from my home office, right? The expenses, the lighting, the internet that we pay in the whole house, right? There's a way we apportion it. And I see how some of those can go as deductions on my LLC under my 1040. This is why you need a professional to making sure, remember, that the IRS does not take more than you should pay, and that you should not get more, than you should get. I know more is good, but I don't know how many of the, my Yoruba people that are here. I will say this and I will interpret it. Ifa, that is when you take what does not belong to you, it comes back. And when it comes back, you would not, like it. Now, that being said, we've talked about, what a tax return is, a report card. What is a refund? What you are getting back from the excess that you paid to the government plus certain, credit. Why do I need to file my taxes? Just be civil. It's a simple response. I mean, just a simple responsibility. The same way you want to be nice, to yourself, your wives, your husbands, your kids. Be nice to the government. And remember, the government is you. Those of us that did government, they say the government is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. I don't know if I got it. Yeah. So whatever whichever way you file your taxes, right, it's coming back to you, right? When you don't give to the government, the fair share, the government would not be able to run. But I'm here to see that you don't give more than you should, or you don't, get less, than you should. Now, I can go ahead now and share this one that I have here, because I need, to show you what you now need uh, to file your tax. I can share this with you because this is all out there. But like I said, the main slides, which is for our internal use, I would only give if you ask for it. So I would share this now. Do we see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, we
please.
can.
Now we've talked about the tax, return, what it is, what a refund is, why you need to do it now, and how, which is, as I said, manual, yourself, electronically, or you engage a professional. Now, when you have now decided, to file your tax, what do you need? Those are what I'm going to be, running through. Because we are 39 minutes into the meeting. We have time. I'm not running anywhere. I'm here for you. Oh, trust me. I'm here because we need to get this right. And I know that our pastor would also be praying for wisdom for all of us in order to stick to doing it right. Yeah. So what do I need? So the first thing you need your personal information. Um, uh, can anyone, just say hi if you are filing your tax return for the first time. Can you unmute and say yes, my name, and tell us your name if you are filing for the first time? So obviously, everyone here have done this before. Okay, yeah.
I haven't done it. Hello, sir.
Hello. So you're Taiwo, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Taiwo Olutola. Yeah. So
Yes.
thank you for attending. And Yeah, so if you haven't done this before, you need to pay attention.
All right, sir.
Uh,
Thank
yeah,
you.
pay attention here. And as I said initially, it's not complicated at all. So the first thing you need, of course, you need your personal information, your social security number, and if a tax ID is what you have, you need that. For those of us who have tax ID, I need you to know that you must file your tax return every year. Because when you got that tax ID, what you are simply telling the government before when you made your W-7 application is that, hey, the government of the United States of America, I'm here. I don't have a social security number, but I want to file my tax every year because I make some money. And then they issue you that number. If you don't file your tax for 3 years, that number is gone. I've seen clients lost $5,000, $7,000 because when they put in their taxes with their children, right, that have social security number, right, the monies that they were meant to get for their children, government say we can't give it to you because your tax ID, for you as the main applicant is invalid. So is either you renew it to come get the money or you forget about it. So if you are here and you have a tax ID, you always want to file your tax every year. You have to file your taxes every year so that that number can remain valid. Yeah, so you need your social security number, you need your tax ID. If you have a spouse, you need the same, right? Social security, and then you need your date of birth. We have individuals here who, for protection, have requested for what we call a protection pin. You need that pin because without that pin, you can't submit your either you or your professional cannot submit your taxes, to the government. Uh, and then, of course, if you need to get your money
No
direct,
bezels.
if you need to get your money direct deposit, you provide your routing and your account number. If you have dependents, if you have you are a parent, you're a guardian, you need the same information, right? Social security number, tax ID for your children, and you always want to provide your recent address. If your address has changed from last year, uh,
Sorry.
On the United States, killing its troops.
hello?
Hello, I muted the person. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Yeah. So you want to provide, the information for your dependent. And as I was saying, if your address has changed, make sure you provide your recent address because if you don't, if you have any notice, say for example, maybe you did something not quite, correct on your taxes, and they need to inform you that we need you to change this and then change it, put it back. Like Taiwo Lutola, for example, it is possible that when you put in your taxes, IRS will send you a notice saying, we've never received any tax return bearing this name or using this social security number or with this tax ID. Can you please verify yourself? They will send you a notice and they will instruct you on how to. If you don't provide your current address, you are never going to get that. And you'll be wondering, why have I not gotten my refund or a notice from the IRS? You always want to provide your address, your recent address. Now, income. Don't forget, I said this tax return that we are talking about is a report card of your income, your expenses. That is all tax return is all about. Like when you go to school, you did well in maths, during your English, you know, sessions, you were sleeping, right? The tax return will show you your report card will show where you did well. It's the same thing here. Return will show you how much you made. So let's talk about that first. Now, what are the different sources of income, that the IRS is expected you to, impute to show through your tax return? And as I've said, all of these, they have it. They have it, right? They are just expecting you to now lay a claim, right? Or submit a calculation, to them to say this is what I am owing you. Because the system, the IRS system, is a honorable system. They take your word for what you say on your tax return, and that's why we have so many forms that say acknowledge that everything I have on my tax return is correct, right? Because they don't have the resources to have employees to check one by one before releasing. If they are meant to do that, most of us will be getting our refund maybe in June. But when it comes in, IRS look at it, oh, this is what this individual have cited here. This individual have said it here that yes, everything I said here is correct. How much is this how much is this person, did this person claim on the tax return that is the refund? They release it to you, right? So IRS would release these to you because that is what you told them on your tax return that they owe you, right? But then later they go back and do what we call the back audit. And when they see something is wrong, they write you. And that's where so people get audited. Now, for employment, for those who are employed, you get your W-2 after completing your W-4 through the onboarding process. If you are unemployed, the government sometimes give you what we call the unemployment benefits, right? Based off maybe like unemployment insurance that you have paid in previous years. When you have a job, one of the taxes you paid, one of the insurance you pay is unemployment, insurance. That when you don't have that job, you get those money back, government to say, hey, hold on to this to keep, body and soul, going. And you get what we call a 1099G, right? That you submit. Now, if you are self-employed, you get what we call the 1099. Most of us, we know about this. Like the Uber, all of the side gig we do, we provide, these services as independent contractor. It means Uber is contracting that job to you. And what you get at the end of the year from Uber, from Lyft, from DoorDash is what we call, the 1099 form. If you have a partnership with a friend, right? Once you are done with your financials, your profit and loss, for that 1095, you have what we call share of profits. If you have a business with anybody and you make profit, you have what we call, that share of profit. Whatever is your share from that profit on that partnership business, you have to disclose on your 1040 under what we call, the K1. We have 1099 miscellaneous. The 1099 is comes in different. We have 1099 miscellaneous income. We have the 1099 miscellaneous income, and then we have the 1099 non, uh, employee compensation, right? That you get. They come in different form. Then, do you have a rental property, right? If you have a rental property, you are going to have to disclose the income, that you make on that rental property, which is the rent, for example, is the income. But then if you are paying mortgage on that rental property that you are renting out, the mortgage would form part of the expenses for that mortgage. If you do any kind of repair, you have to disclose that repair. If you are paying HOA on that rental property, it's part of the expenses, for that rental property. Do you have any retirement income? We have so many of us, that are retired. And before you retire, you must have, paid, your Medicare, your Social Security through your W-2 or your self-employment tax. When you reach a certain age in the United States, your retirement income gets that, and you get this from the government. Do you have savings or any kind, of investment? Some of us here, we invest in shares, crypto. If you have any of this and they declare dividend at the end of the year, they will send you, your 1099 div, which is 1099 dividend. If you have a savings account, right, and then you got interest over the year, you would get what we call the 1099 INT, from the bank, or from any credit union, or sometimes even the IRS. For example, uh, if you did not put in your taxes early enough, and based off what the IRS have seen that you have overpaid them, right? They are going to give you some interest. And then you will get that letter saying, hey, you have this, interest, from us. And gambling. We have those that gamble. We have uh, we have students that did well in school and then they got prizes, and awards from their school. They are going to give you 1099, for that. You have to disclose it. Do you have royalty income? Do you have trust? We have people that have trust. If you have trust and then you got some income through those, you can. I don't know. Most of us wouldn't know about this. The jury duty. Most of the jury sometimes we see in courts. There are individuals like you and I that the government have, sent invitation to be a jury. They get paid. Some do are free, but for those who get paid, you get money. And state tax reform. This I see, well, some of us don't get it. So when you get a refund from your state, they would also send you a 1099 saying you got this refund. Now it has been contested over years that should this form part of your income in the coming year, right? This was an issue last year where individuals like, why should the refund I get from the state uh, form, part of my income? Because it's going to shoot up my income and increase my tax, bracket. So that is a complicated, complex, issue. You might want to reach out, to me to clarify if you can have that, disclosure your taxes or not. Now we have deductions. This is where the problem is. This is where most people get it wrong. Because like I said, hires, they have most of your income. Most of the income that you get from either your employer or whoever you did a business with, they are there in the IRS. You're sitting down there, and you'll be surprised if you go into your IRS, you'll find them there. But something is what they don't have. They don't have your deductions, your expenses. And this is where most people will feel like, okay, this is a loophole. Let's take advantage of these loopholes and, see how we can either get more money or reduce our liability. And trust me, you can get around, um, you can get away, but not for too long. Your tax return for 2024, like the one you're about to file, which is your report card for 2023, is under the spotlight, of the IRS for 7 years. So if you think you are, I've put in my return, no, for 7 years, IRS can recall and audit. So do you want to sleep with just one eye, open for 7 years, knowing what you have done? You don't, because there are so many things to contend with. Your immigration status, the culture, shock, your kids having to go to school, and what church can I go? Well, I'm not in America. Do I want to go to an American church, or do I want to stay with there are so many issues out there to contest with. Don't add IRS. If you add IRS to it, it will just, that can mess you up entirely. So I want to beg you, before we move on, just avoid IRS wahala, because you don't want to see it. I pray you don't see it. So, knowing very well that they have no access, to this, does not mean that they can't. IRS can come to my house and say, Ayo, you said you have home office and this is what you have. We want to come and see it. And you know what they are going to do? My somebody came to my house yesterday, one of the and left this on the table. So maybe he left it because I need to do this presentation. They will come and measure. They will come and measure the square feet to see, right, if what you have on the spaces you use for your home office is accurate or not. You don't want that. Now, let's talk about these deductions. Home and vehicle ownership. If you have a home, you would get what we call a 1098 mortgage statement. That mortgage statement would tell you how much you paid in interest, how much you have left, to pay, the taxes on that property. It's going to tell you all of this. And one of the things that I look out for is, how much did you pay in taxes? Let us add it to the advanced taxes you've paid in previous years to see if you are going to get some money back. I've seen clients come here and their previous tax preparer, or maybe they prepared it themselves, they misapplied, they wrongly applied the 1098 mortgage statement. You don't want to do that, right? Do you have solar? Did you buy a Tesla or any electronic vehicle? You can write of those off, right? And for those who own businesses, LLCs, before I go, I'm going to talk about, a little of LLCs and company taxes. If you have an LLC, right, and you have the business account, try as much as possible to buy certain things. For example, that car you want to buy it with the business account. So you can write off some of the depreciation of that vehicle on your taxes, right? If you need help with this, you can come. Do you have charitable donations? You give people gift, you ask Salvation Army or Goodwill to come to your house and pick some stuff. They are going to give you a kind of receipt, a receipt to tell you what the value of what you give out. These you can use on your taxes. The donations you give in church. But then I need to say this, that you can only disclose this. I mean, you should disclose, these donations. You should. But the only way it's going to help with your taxes is if it reaches a certain threshold. Because what the donation does is to help with what we call the standard deductions. Uh, if our pastor don't mind, this is giving us, like um, an explanation, right? Like just, a review of what a tax return is. If our pastor don't mind, I wouldn't mind, coming back and showing us the practicality, right? Which is coming up with the forms, the 1040 form, and then from page 1 to the end, I would explain these forms, right? And what you should have what and how it affects your tax. So more or less like I want to give a tax training. So if we can come back and or maybe we can have a vote here, putting it, in the chat box that yes, we want, and if we see that the vote is high, we can have another arrangement. I see our pastor want to say something.
I was going to say that you're already welcome.
Okay. Yeah.
But I can set up a poll if you want that, but I'm sure most people will want.
Yeah.
Wait, let me not preempt.
It's okay. Yeah. So we have, the charitable, we have the medical expenses. The medicals is also, like the charitable donation. You have to disclose, but it doesn't trigger deductions unless it reaches, a certain threshold. For example, if the donation you gave, the church donation you gave, your medical expenses, if it doesn't sometimes get to about 15,000, it really does little or nothing, to your taxes. But should I disclose? Yes, disclose. And then you see if it helps you. We have the health insurance, you get 1095. We have 1095 A, B, and C. You need to have that. If you have a 1095 C, for example, it's going to show you how much the government assisted you with, in the previous year, through your marketplace. Let's assume, during the time that you went to the hospital, you have this insurance policy. The government would pay off some of your insurance, claims. Now, is this free? No. What is happening there is that you are telling the government that I can't afford this during the year. Pay for me. And then at the end of the year, I would return it back. So if you have a 1090, which is one of the forms that I would like to show us when we are doing it, practicality, you want to look at the third line, and whatever amount you see there, you have to pay back to the government. So the reason why I'm saying this is if you are looking at that insurance, that 1095, and you look at how much the government is paying, ask yourself, do I really need this insurance policy? Because I've seen individuals having to pay 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 back to the government when they did not actually use this, insurance. So don't keep what would drain your pocket. Let it go. If you don't have health challenges, right? And for everyone here, that pray that you get delivered, because this is one way that you just pay, to the government what you could have, avoided. Childcare. If you have, children and you send them to daycare, you want to ask your daycare to give you a statement that will show their name, their EIN, their address, and what you pay. Because government reforms, part of, your daycare. And remember, the child has to be under 13. So if you have a son or daughter that is below 13, and you take them to daycare or maybe even after school. Get those statements from them. We have educational expenses. If you're in high school, you should get a 1095T that will show you how much you paid in school fees. Do you have student loan and you paid interest? That interest you pay, you can definitely, claim it back. We have the K-12 educator expenses. You need that, receipt for classroom expenses. If you have, look at, this is for, for educators in grade, K-12, you can get this back if you fall here. We have the state and the local taxes. For those of us who have anything to do with the government, right? And you pay taxes, to them, you can claim that back if you have overpaid. That's We have retirement, federally declared disaster. If you are in a location where uh, we have a kind of disaster, cyclone, tsunami, and all of this, natural disaster we have. If you incur certain expenses to bringing your home back to, what it should look like, get all of this to put, all of this together, and, there's a place where you can claim that on your taxes. So that is what we have as of today. Of course, if you need our help, there we are, our phone number. If you want to send us an email, we have that. And you can check out our website, right? And there's one thing I want to ask everyone here before I jump into the question. And I'm going to be seeing the report card. I'm going to be seeing it live, right? It is you hopping on your phone now. If you are here, let me see if we are all paying attention. So we have 77 people here listening, right? Saying how responsive we are. Uh, our Instagram page, right, is simply at FinServPro. Let's see how many of us here I would see as new followers. I'm looking at it before we jump on the questions. So go to your Instagram if you are here and kindly follow us at FinServPro. And I'll definitely reach out to you. And maybe that way you can get a discount if you choose to come, to FinServPro. So that being said, I would hand over to Mabel, moderator. Thank you so much for coming. If you have any question, make sure you put it in the chat box. She's going to get those questions. I believe we have some questions here that I have to address. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I can't wait to have your questions.
Moderator, it's over to you, I guess.
You want to unmute?
Okay, sorry, I must have removed it because of those who were disturbing.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much, sir. I've been trying to unmute myself. Okay, thank you so very much, Mr. Ayomide, for that insightful information. So we have quite a number of questions already for you. And if you have more questions, please do us good by sending it on the chat box. I'm going to be reading it from there. So going on to the first question we have here. Someone says, please, I'd like to know if I need to pay tax, considering I only started working in December 2023.
Yeah, so there's a part that I would say here. So if you make income in the United States, whatever the source of the income is, you have to disclose. But should you disclose um, um, when you don't make up to a certain amount of income? The answer is no. So if your income as a single person is less than $13,000, you don't need to file a tax return. Right? It is not compulsory that you do. So if you are single and you make less than $13,000, you don't need to file a tax return. If you are married filing jointly and you put together the income you and your spouse made and is not more than 27,700, you don't need to file a tax return. If you are married filing separately, this is why I don't like the marriage filing separately status. It's like you cheating yourself, right? As long as you make more than $5, you have to disclose. Can you look at that? Married filing separately, married filing jointly, if you don't make more than 27,700, you don't have to. But once you are filing separately, if you make $5, you have to disclose it. The system does not support people being separated. They want you to stay together, right? And then if you are head of household, you have kids, and you don't make more than 20,800, you don't have to file your tax return. If you are a qualified widow or widower and you don't make more than 27,700, you don't have to file your tax. But you could be leaving so much money on the table if you don't file. For example, if you are a head of household and you make, here it says 27,700, right? If you are a head of household and you make $27,000, for example, and then you have 3 or 4 children, you could be missing out on $10,000 to $14,000 right there. Because what happens is that the child tax credit of $2,000, which is $8,000 that you should get from the government, because you are not putting in your tax return, you're not going to get it. Right? The earned income credit, which could be maybe like around 2,000 to 3,000 that you should have gotten because you are telling the government that I worked, but I could not do much. Please support me. And then the government will give you like the earned income credit. When you don't put in your tax return, you don't get it. That is for head of household. If you are a single individual and you made less than 18,000, and you made less than 13,800, which triggers, you filing your tax. If you make less than that, right, and then you are a student and you got your 1098C, when you don't file your tax return, that $1,000 that you should get as what we call the American tax credit, you lose out on it, right? So there are reasons, right, that you should file your tax return even if you don't have that income that makes it a compulsion for you to file your tax, right? Once you make above this income, it becomes compulsory. But when you make below, it's not. But then if you now have these other reasons, like earned income credit, child tax credit, American, tax opportunity credits, right? If you have this and you don't put in your taxes, you lose out. So to your question, if you just started in December and you don't make up to this, right, you don't have to, but consider this other credit that you could be missing out. Thank you.
Okay. So the second question says, I would like to know if there is any implications of using 1099. Even though I already have my SSN, can I still file with 1099? Will I be facing any problem later in future? Kindly advise.
Yeah. So this is something I see all of the time, and most of us have been there, right? Let's face it. Like we come in, we get a tax ID, right? And even with the tax ID, we do certain jobs that we got 1099. And then because we are in the process of regularizing, to becoming permanent residents and citizens, we now have social security number, right? For every 1099 that you received with your tax ID, right? It's with the IRS. When you are filing your tax now, what you now have to do, let's say, for example, maybe last year you filed your taxes using your tax ID with the 1099 that you got. What you will be doing this year now is now updating your record with the IRS, filing your taxes with your social security number, and also disclosing the income you make with the tax ID. You put them together. So when the IRS receive it, they know that this person is the same because your name, your date of birth is the same, right? They would know and then combine, and that way they close out your tax ID. So what I would advise you is after you get your social security, for every 1099 or 1099 in most cases, because hardly would you get a W-2 with a tax ID. But even if you do, report all of this together and stop using your tax ID. Just close it out there. Don't use it for any side gig or any, just stop right there and then continue with your social security number. And no,
Okay.
you're not going to face any, there wouldn't be any problem.
Okay, sir. So to the third question, I would like to know the best practices to help a couple with 3 kids. Should they file their tax separately or together? If they are filing separately, is it okay if they divide the children to file their taxes?
So, first thing, right, the tax system we have does not support, not really support, does not encourage you filing separately, because what you do there is, for example, you lose so many credit. I'll give you one. Let's say, for example, one of you is a student, and then you get a 1098T from your school. The moment you file, you select the filing married separately, both of you. Like, let's assume both of you are students, right? You got your 1098T, your spouse got, 1098T. If you file your tax, you share the kids, and then you select married filing separately, your spouse select married filing separately, your 1098T that you both disclose would not give you the American tax credit. That is number one. Number two, if both of you make income that should qualify you for what we call the earned income credits, right? And you file married filing separately, you're not going to get it. So, for example, if you made, let's change this to 3 kids, now 4 kids now. You want to, share the kids, 2 each. And then you, the husband, you made $30,000 that should qualify you for earned income credit. Your wife makes $30,000 too, that should qualify you for earned income credit with 2 kids, right? The moment you select married filing separately, you both lose out on the earned income credit that could have given you like maybe 3,000. But when you file married filing jointly, right, and you combine the income, yes, the income is going to be 60,000, but you are still going to get some earned income credit, right? It won't now be the 3,000 that you should get, which should be 6,000. It could be maybe like 1,005. But 1,005 is better than zero here, zero here, if you agree with me. And then the American tax credit, zero here, zero here. When both of you should have gotten 1,000, which is, like 2,000, or as the case may be, IRS sometimes can be funny, right? Both of you went to school, but we are seeing both of you as one, and we are giving you just 1,000. But 1,000 is still better than zero here, zero here. So filing marriage separately, I mean, there are other reasons why you might want to do it. I've seen couples who wants to buy, their separate homes, like one for residential, one for investment, and they choose to file separately so they can. But you can also achieve that with you filing jointly. If you file jointly, it doesn't stop you from buying your houses separately, right? It's you lose a lot when you file separately. It's as simple as that.
Okay, moving on to the fourth question. The fourth question says, for someone that has a registered company with a bank account but not operating it yet, I heard I'm supposed to file tax on the company bank account. How does this work? Please note that I work for another company and I declare my tax for the year. How do I go about filing my company account tax?
Yeah. So if you have a company, what you are disclosing is not your company bank accounts, right? What you are doing is filing the tax for that company. And it's good we have this question that gives me the opportunity to talk about the LLC, the S Corp, and the C Corp. If you have an LLC, right, uh, to keep that LLC running, you have to pay, even if you are not doing anything with it now, right? Let's assume that you want to start an IT, business, and currently you are working as a full-time employee with an IT company, gaining the experience, right? Uh, as soon as you can register a business, register it, because when you want to go get certain benefit or support from the government, they want to see for how long you have had that business. Now, if you are not able to run that business, right, to keep it going, there are certain expenses you would have to be incurring, like paying, your property tax, right? Like paying your professional to file your tax for that business, right? So the fact that you don't have that business running does not mean that you should not include that LLC on your 1040 and under the expenses, whatever you paid to anybody to keep the business at least alive, at least running, at least active, right? You have to disclose those. So on your Schedule C, under your 1040, you have the business name, you have the business EIN, right? Income, zero. Expenses, I paid Mr. So, this amount of money to help me file the Form 1. I paid $300 to the state of Maryland as property tax. While I'm not able to start the business now, there are some videos that I did that I'm going to be posting when the business start running. Whatever cost of production you have for those videos, anything you do, to at least keep that business running now, and for the sake of the future of the business, you can disclose those profits, on your tax return. When you don't disclose that LLC that, yes, is not running yet to the IRS, you are equally saying that the business does not exist anymore, right? And if, for example, you now start running the business and you need to go get a facility from the bank, they would ask you to come up with a Schedule C. When they don't see it, what you have done is taking your leg and no leg again. Bank will just say bye bye. I hope that answers our question. Yeah.
Okay. The next one. Please, can you kindly explain how does tax on LLC different from that of the other one?
Great.
And I think you
So,
just did, right?
no. I did not.
Oh, okay,
Unfortunately.
okay.
Yeah, this which is good. And I love this. In fact, these questions, yeah, they are giving me the opportunity to answer because I was going to say something, right? Which I didn't say. Well, I'll say here now. Now, that's what I explained was for LLC. That is, the business is not running. You have to disclose the LLC on your 1040. Now, if you now have a multi-member LLC, what you file at the end of the year is what we call a 1065, whether the business is running or not. Now, if the business is running, if the multi-member LLC is running, in while you're trying to file your 1065, you provide the income and then you provide the expenses, and whatever difference you have, right? You share that, and both you and your partners would now disclose your portion of the profit on your 1040 under the K1, right? Let's say, for example, Mr. and Mrs. Ojoyinka, they have a multi-member LLC. Like if she registers a business now and she puts her husband's name there as a member, at the end of the year, you must file what we call a 1065, right? Which is going to be a separate filing. Now, when I'm looking at the 1040 of Mr. and Mrs. Oyenyinka, even if they are filing jointly, I want to see a form called K1 that will say from the 1065, this is the share of profit to Mr. Oyenyinka, this is the share of profit to Mrs. Oyenyinka. I must see that on your 1040. That is for multi-member LLC. Now, for S corp, right? What you also do is to file what we call an 1120. Now, for you to become an S corp, you don't file an article and say, I want to be an S corp. No, you must first be a LLC, right? And then you elect to be a S corp. And the moment you elect to be an S corp, the moment you elect to be a S corp, file what we call you file what we call an 1120S. And under that 1120S, right, what I want to see is the profit you make. Now, the good thing about the S corp is that profit you make is not taxable under the S corp, but that profit now has to pass through, just like the multi-member LLC. That profit you make from your S corp, which we can't tax there, will now pass through to your 1040, where we are now going to tax it, right? But the good thing is the taxes you are now going to pay on that profit on your 1040, will be lower if it has been taxed, on your S corp. So if you have a LLC today and you think you are expanding, right? But you should be ready to have more filing requirements. I would suggest, that you elect to be a S corp so you can reduce, your tax liability. But it comes with other responsibilities that you must be ready, to have in place. You can't just have low liability for nothing. And if going back to the multi-member, LLC, if on that multi-member LLC is if a loss is what you made, right, you're also going to share that loss and disclose that loss on your 1040. Now, the other one now is now the C corp. The C corp is where you register that business as a corporation from the beginning. That I want to be a corporation, and for you to register as a corporation, it means that you are telling yourself that I want to start big from now. Because for you to have investors come into the business, you can't have a LLC. No LLC is allowed to sell shares, to have investors give you money. No, if you want to do all of that, you have to be, a C corp. Now, if you are a C corp, if you have a C corporation, right? What you do there is you file what we call your 1120, and whatever profit you make on that 1120 is going to be taxed, right? So those are the differences. LLC, limited liability company, where you provide the financials to, when you want to file the taxes on your 1040 under what we call the Schedule C. Multi-member LLC is LLC, but because it's multi, you file a partnership tax return, 1065. S Corp, you file what we call, 1120S. And then C Corp, you file what we call the 1120. If you need more, on this, you can always call my number. Am I allowed to give my number?
Oh, yes, we're still going to ask for that when we get there.
Yeah, so I want to call my number. Yeah. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, to the next one. Someone wants to know, she said, I think got expired after 3 years of not using it to fight tax. So how is she going to go about the renewal?
Very, very simple. You file a new W-7. I do this all the time, right? I was going to apply for something for a client the other day. Boom, 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 boom. It came back and said, we don't recognize this number anymore. When I told this client, your tax ID is expired. No, not possible. Your tax ID has expired. And then I put, this client on the call and, told the client that it's expired, Well, it's simple, but good news, right? You are going to get the same number back. So if there's anywhere you have used the number, maybe to get an EIN, maybe to open a bank account, the same number is going to come back. So don't worry. All you need to do is just put in a renewal and you have the number.
Okay. So this person is saying that what is the implication of not filing tax after working for just a few months of using the I-10? Please note that it's not under the table because the payment was a direct deposit. That you should kindly advise her.
Yeah, so if you have an item, right, and you work under the table or over the table, whatever kind of work you have, whether you got the money cash or they paid the money directly into your bank account, I'm going to appeal that as long as it's over this 13,000, 27,000 for this filing status, please put in your taxes and pay your taxes. Right? And the other thing is, if you don't make, above a certain amount of money, you don't even pay any taxes. For example, if you make even $14,000, right? Even though it says here that it's 13,800 here. If you make $15,000 on a 1099, right? As long as you have your deductions, maybe you drove to work, we have mileage, right? Maybe you took Uber, you have receipts. You ate while you are at work, right? Your telephone call, because some of us, we call our supervisor. We need to get to this place. If you make phone calls that is related to that job that you have, that you use time, some of your phone calls can go as part of your expenses. And in most cases, right, you pay little or nothing. So if you have an item over the table, under the table, if it is more than this 13,000 as a single, Married filing jointly, this 27 that disclose it. Now, the reason why I'm appealing that you disclose, someday you would want to knock on a certain door, and that return is what they are going to ask you, right? I'm going to give you a very live example. It's me. When I was going to buy our first home, right, they requested for the tax return I filed 2 years ago, right? Even though the income on that tax return it was like 18,000, they just wanted to see it. Disclose, disclose it because it's going to help you. That is one. Two, I'm currently working with the state of Maryland to see how we can enlarge, just expand rather the opportunities for tax ID holders. Because what I'm saying to Maryland is, hey, I have a tax ID. You gave me driver's license. You gave me opportunity to have a bank account. Why can't we have this one or two more opportunities? Right? And one of the things they're asking me is, these guys you are asking to get this benefit, are they paying their taxes? Of course, I told them yes. But now that we are here, are you paying your taxes? Because me, I've told them that you are paying as a tax ID holder, right? Are you paying it? And if they really want to confirm the yes that I told them, it's through your tax return, right? This country is a country of immigrants. It's a country for you. It's a country that belongs to you as long as you have that sense of belonging. And the sense of belonging starts from you doing what you have to do. From those of us that are Lagosian, I'm a Lagosian, right? Lagos, technically, it is yes. America is for everybody. And I'm going to say this, it doesn't mean, I don't mean to, sound, America currently is for sale, meaning you can get what you want as long as you can pay the price. That's it. Through your tax return, through your tax filing, through doing what you have to do. You work, you be responsible, don't engage in crime. One of the biggest source of crime in America is what we are discussing here today. Yeah, thank you.
Hey, thank you
Yes,
so much,
I
Mr.
think, I
Ayomide.
think that's
I
good.
would like to crave our indulgence.
Yeah.
I want us to take a moment to do something for the church in return for what we're doing right now. This was brought to us from Amazing Grace Chapel in Baltimore. So I want us to go on our Instagram page and follow the church. And just in case you do not have a family church or a home church that you attend right now, our church is a family church. It's open to all. Okay, you can always join us. We meet every Sundays by 9:30 a.m. and we are located at 3706 Crondall Lane in Owings Mill, MD 21117. So let's endeavor to go on our Instagram page and follow the church. Thank you so much as we do so. Let's continue.
Are you
So
gonna
we're
post
moving on
your
to,
sorry, ma'am. Are you gonna post your
okay, sir.
Instagram? Are you gonna post your Instagram handle?
Yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that now, sir, after the question.
I just want to follow you guys.
Okay, sir. I'm going to do that right now. Okay, so the next question says, please, can you give a brief on tax amendment?
Yeah, so tax amendment is when you think you have a reason to provide more information to the IRS. For example, you filed your tax return with one W-2, forgetting that there was a job you did for just maybe 2 months. And then you just found the W-2. Or there is a 1099 you did and they didn't send you the 1099 on time. And you already put in your tax return, right? Or like home alone, where they left one of the kids at home. You forgot to add, your David, as they forgot him in the woods on your tax return, and then we only included three children. We forget about the fourth one. Yeah, and then you have to tell the IRS that I have four kids rather than three. You put in your amendment. And it's called 1040X. So what that, or maybe you are compelled to provide, because sometimes the IRS would write you and say, hey, we have this on file for you, but you submitted this. Can we have the other ones? And then you put in your amendment. It's as simple as that. Yeah. But there must be a reason or reasons for you to file an amendment. If not, there's no point.
Okay, sir. So the next question says, are we expected to have the 1099 forms for each month? And then
No, like
further asked, okay, do you want to answer that first? Okay.
yeah, like the W-2, it comes at the end of the year. So what you get every month is a pay stub. What you get at the end of the year is your 1099 or your W-2. So it comes, annually, just once in a year, not monthly.
Yeah, the person further asks that married and filing jointly, is it okay for both parents to add their children to the W-2 form? Say that they have two children. Can the husband add the two children and the wife add the same children to a W-2 form?
So I want to believe that this individual wants to write W4. So if you are filling out your W4 and you have two children, right? If you are going to be filing married, filing jointly, I would suggest, right, that you both claim each child, or one of you claim two child, and then the other claims zero. Because when you come together to file your taxes, what they are going to give you, or the consideration they are going to have for that family when it comes to the taxes, are those two kids, not four. Two for you, two for you. No, it's going to be two. So you can do one for you on your W4, one for the other person. Or if one of you is going to be, earning so high, you can claim the O2 for that person that's claimed so high, so that they can like take effect of that on the taxes. Because if you are making so much and you have zero, right, it means they're going to be taking a lot of taxes from your pay stub. And you'll be amazed how much that can. Yeah, so have it there for two, and then the other person with the low income can claim zero. And at the end of the day, when you file your tax return, it would even out, right? Nobody is here to cheat anybody. IRS is not here to cheat you. So don't come out to pay your fair share.
Okay, sir. So the next question says, before my status adjustment, I had a 1099 and received scholarship back in college, but I was told I couldn't file after receiving 1098-T. Is that accurate?
So this is a kind of I don't want to use the word complicated, because honestly, it's not complicated, right? Uh, but it's one of the things that we are trying to tell, the government, that we have individuals from other countries, who comes here to school, and they pay a whole lot of money, you know. Uh, the $1,000 that you give to your citizens, that you give to residents, right? Why don't you think they are not eligible? When in most cases they even pay more as international students, than residents. right? So yes, it's accurate and it's unfortunate, right, that uh, this 1,000 is something that you might not be eligible for if your status doesn't, say resident uh, or or citizen, right? It unfortunately is the way it is, right? But if you are lucky to get your status, upgraded or changed, yeah, then you can claim it afterwards.
Okay. Mr. Ayomide, so sorry, we are having more questions.
I mean, I'm here, so I have 14 more minutes. I promised you
You
one
promised me
hour.
2 hours.
I promised you 1 hour, but you can move to 2 hours. Yeah.
Okay,
So
sir.
it's now
So,
14 minutes.
all right, sir. Thank you so much. So the next person is asking, please, can you talk about the child tax credit proposal in the legislation and how does it affect the filing taxing for the year?
Yeah. So before I talk about the legislation, I need to say this about tax filing, right? Uh, every one of us here we know Father Christmas, right? Santa, and then we have IRS, that we call Uncle Sam. Now, both of them, they have no similarities, right? But they have differences. Now, what you get from Santa is a gift, like gift free. You don't have to work for it, especially if you are still young and your parents are like, I love my son, I love my daughter, regardless of,
Right.
exogenous things. Right? Now, what you get from the IRS is not a gift, is actually what belongs to you, right? What you have worked for or what you are working for. So, for example, uh, the first part of the refund, as I mentioned earlier, is what you paid in excess to the IRS. They are giving it back. The other portion now, related to this question is the child tax credit. It's the credit you get for having kids, having children. Can we please unmute this person?
Are you there? I sent you the link.
I'm sorry, I stood up. I'm going to knock the person out completely.
Yeah. So the child tax credit, right, it is not free. What the government is simply doing is take this money to take care of the future of America. The reason why most of us that have kids here, we are granted visas to come to this country, are those kids that you have when you filled out your form. And when you come here, they need you to take care of these children, right? They don't want them to be under the poverty line. So they give you the money to take care. So it's not free. The government is saying, take this money, to take care of our future, because the better the children are, the better, the United States of America, right? Now, going back to the question um, of the Congress, as of Friday, and I can send this if you want. I have something that I can send that you can read to tell you where it is right now. Right? It's been approved, by the Congress, right? But then they still have to move it, to other tiers of government, and we might not. It may not take effect, right? Like immediately. Uh, if you can wait, till March or maybe early April, maybe you can get it. But if you think you are going to get some money, right, put in your taxes now. What the IRS would do, one of these two things are going to happen. It's going to happen rather. One of these two things is either you are required to put in an amendment, to ask for it, which is most unlikely, or the IRS automatically increase or send you your balance. Last year, I had a client that got balance, about 3 times, for information that the IRS have about her that she does not know. So what she gave to us here was what she knows about herself rather. But then IRS said, no, this is who you are, and this who you are, you should get this payment, right? And they sent her those payments with a notice saying when you put in your taxes, this is what you claimed to be. This is who you claim you are, but this is what we see on the system that you are. So because of that, take this. They give her 3 times, money 3 times, so this might likely happen with the child tax credit. If you are not patient, which I don't expect you to do, put in your taxes now, and then IRS can pay you the balance when eventually it takes effect. The same way they paid the stimulus taxes without you applying. All they did was to look at your previous tax return to see if you qualify and what you qualify for, right? And then they have your banking, information, and they just sent you. Yeah, and the one I love about those one, I won't say that here because there was something that happened that people got more than they shouldn't because of the ages of the kids. But like we say in Ede Yoruba, for general, yeah.
All right. So another person is saying, I lost my job in 2022. Since then, I have been focusing on school and I have my music business. How would I find my business taxes? And I have mixed up both funds to handle personal bills like rent, car notes, repairs of gears, etc. And I am not good at documentation. I would say I have not made any profit from the business due to the equipment buying and living expenses. Please advise.
So the first question I want to ask this individual is, do you have a business account for this business? Like a bank account for this business? If the answer is no, you've not done yourself any good. Can we talk about it? Maybe, it's just I don't like taking clients like this because what they do is they create unnecessary, yeah. But if you have a business account for this business, right there, fantastic. All we would need is for you to go and get your bank statement, and we would, help you with the P&L for the business. And with that P&L, you can now file your taxes to claim all of these expenses that might likely help you, get some money back. Yes.
Okay, you said yes, he do. So I'm sure he has heard what you said.
Oh, yeah.
So this next asking is saying that if one has EIN for a registered LLC, but working with tax ID, can the person file a 1099 income under the EIN, though the person is still working with tax ID?
Yeah, so you can't issue yourself a 1099. So if you have a business, you only issue 1099 to those that work with you. Like if you, for example, if you have a salon, so let's look at this. I love to be practical. Let's assume that you're in this country and what you do is you make hair, you braids, yeah, and then you have a tax ID, and with that tax ID you got an EIN, right? Now at the end of the year, what the government expects you to do is to file a 1040 using your tax ID as the primary, tax, filer, right? And then under your Schedule C, you now state the name of the LLC and the EIN of the LLC. And for those people that you paid, maybe you have 10, client that worked in, you can't make their hair, and then you call maybe a friend, or maybe you even have those that are working with you as apprentices, right? And you pay them money at the end of the year. You must issue all of them what we call a 1099 so that when you are now filing your Schedule C, when you now get to your Schedule C portion of your 1040, you can now include whatever you pay to them as either contractor or salaries or wages, right? But you can't issue yourself a 1099. Whatever you take out for yourself, right? You can, classify it as what we call maybe owner's withdrawal, right? Which somehow you can report on your 1040 and still put, under your Schedule C as expenses. But, that is taking it out here and adding it back there. But for reporting, that's the ethical thing to do. Yeah. If you need help with that, we can, advise you for that on what you have to do. We have
Okay.
4 more minutes.
And we have
We
about
can always come
7
back.
more questions.
We can always come back. Or these individuals with these questions can reach out, right?
Okay.
To me directly. Yeah. So these questions we have here, kindly, if you, for example, I'm going to call out this name real quick because I know. So Foluke, post this question to our Instagram. Yemi, post this question to our Instagram. Olaiton Moses Ojo, send me this your question on our Instagram. Esther Bello, send this to me on our Instagram, please. Yemi again. Yeah. So if you have a question that I'm yet to answer here, just send the same message. Send it to me on our WhatsApp, and I'll get back to you accordingly.
Okay. So at this point, we'd like to say a very big thank you to Mr. Ayomide Ibrahim for sharing out of your wealth of knowledge with us today at this time, this tax season, like we all know. What struck me most in all of what you said today is there's absolutely nothing we can do in this America without having to file our tax. It shows how responsible we are as a person, as an individual. Okay. And because we are Christians serving God, we just have to own up to our responsibility at all times. So thank you so much, Mr. Ayomide. We are really, really grateful to you as a church, as a family of Amazing Grace Chapel, and as all individuals that joined us from outside. Like I said before, please, if you do not have a church that you attend, our church is open to all. We are family, okay? And we'll be glad to have you join us as a church. So, Mr. Ayomide, thank you so much. I'm out over to my pastor right now.
So
Pastor, you have the floor.
before our pastor declare, his prayers, I said I was going to say something, which is going to be like a parting gift, to every one of us. I just want to say this, right? That for every time you pay your taxes, right, or you file your tax return in the United States of America, you are helping to sustain the United States of America. Because see, even if you are not paying taxes, they need those information, your name, to know where you are, to know how you are doing, to know if this country, if they need to inject more funds here, what do they need to do here? For example, in Prince George's County now, right, they are trying to see what they have to do to making sure that Prince George's County keeps running, right? Now, when you do this, you sustain this country. When you don't, you kill this country. And my question to you is, if this country dies today, your children that you brought to the United States, we ran from Nigeria, we ran from Cotonou, we ran from Senegal, we ran from, because the systems over in our countries are not working. We brought our kids here. If we kill the systems, if we kill this country, where would your children run to? China? Russia? Think about that. And just receive it is the easiest and peaceful thing to do. And God bless you. God help you. Over to you, Pastor Sam.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Can we please Sister Tokwe, can you post his Instagram handle again? Somebody's asking. I know FinServe Pro, something like that. So that was awesome. We were really blessed. We appreciate you. God bless you. Real, real good. That was informative. And I don't think there is a better way to have ended this session other than the way you did. I mean, where do we want our children to go to if we kill the system? I mean, think about that. Let's just say a word of prayer and we'll be on our way out of this session. Lord, we want to thank you for the facilitator, Mr. Ibrahim. We thank you for wisdom. We thank you for his business. We pray, Father, that this business will grow in leaps and bounds in Jesus' name. And every one of us that have attended, tax returns is also a measure of how well citizens are doing. And so we pray that for every one of us, we will do well. In the mighty name of Jesus, God will increase us, will expand us. In the mighty name of Jesus.
Amen.
And we pray for grace to be responsible. It's also a measure of responsibility. Responsibility on the home front, responsible in the society, responsible in the family, responsible everywhere that a demand is placed upon us. In the mighty name of Jesus.
Amen.
Bless the Father. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Again, thanks everybody for coming. We bless.
Mr. Ayomide's phone number is right there in our chat box. So you can copy his number from there if you need it. And I've also posted his Instagram page. It's FinServe Pro in one word.
All right. Thanks, everybody.